Welcome back, everybody, to another day of the LCK, another week as we're starting here on Thursday. It's me, Valdez, with LS, bringing you the action today. We got DRX up against KT for our first matchup, and we've talked about this before, DRX kind of being up towards the top of the totem poles, whereas KT is kind of in the middle. What are you expecting for today, LS?
Well, I'm expecting some Sin to win. Valdez is exactly what I believe is going to still be on the menu for DRX. KT, I mean, we'll see what they can manage to do. I mean, they were the team that managed to upset DRX previously, and see if they can do a miracle second time, because I think everyone is pretty much imagining that DRX is just going to come in and stomp them 2-0.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we were imagining last time as well. And then, you know, I walked in today, and sometimes I can see what the players are practicing and kind of get a feel of, you know, what kind of champions. Remember the R5 Renekton, the first one we saw? I saw them practicing that as well, and today I saw a lot of Sinners on the side of DRX, so even Cario was playing Lucian, which kind of confused me. I don't think that's actually going to happen, but it certainly does feel like DRX are coming in today. They want revenge, but what do they think is the best way to get revenge? Is it to try to style with some Sinners, or do you want to try to play a straight-up game? Not sure.
Well, you can see the standings right now, DRX. They are looking to extend their lead in first place even larger, as Damwon, I mean, they're going to be chasing after them. Genji as well. KT really needs this win, so they can move to 5 and 6. They have a chance to then basically almost make it back onto the left-hand side if Afrika would end up losing their next series.
It's definitely possible. I think Afrika would need to lose 0-2, and then maybe KT need to win 2-0.
Yeah, so.
And then maybe get a tiebreaker there. And we talked about the top 3 teams. They've kind of separated themselves from everybody else, even T1, who's kind of in the middle of the 2 packs at the moment. As you can see, Chovy's still 200 points behind BDD today, LS.
Thank you for reminding me. Let me get my 2-player of the game sheets out. Let me locate the mid-box.
Yeah, just, you know.
2 quick check marks. So.
Get it over with right now.
I'm going to really make sure to chill out here today. Right? Don't get any funny ideas.
Yeah.
You know, vote against Chovy.
Thankfully, I don't have a vote anymore.
Yeah. Well, all right. Pickpan percent top 5. Twisted Fate 95.5%. Pickpan on Karma 95.5%. Same as Volibear. And those 2 are at least positive or even win rate set as well. Ezreal at a 20% win rate. I do not think it is reflective at all of the champion's strengths whatsoever. It's mostly teams just picking him in very unfortunate situations,
or picking him and then they draft other champions with him that, you know, Ezreal can kind of go with anything, but maybe the rest of the draft doesn't look as good. As we are moving on to 10-14 today, guys. So, I wonder if we'll see anything new today, LS.
Yeah, well, I mean, Karthus is massively buffed. So, we'll see if Karthus can maybe make a resurgence. He has potency now in jungle, mid, top, and AD carry, but knowing that it's Korea, the only potency he probably has is still just being left unpicked.
Yeah.
So, Zed, W buffed on missile speed, still don't expect to see him whatsoever. Sejuani buff is pretty much luxury, especially in competitive. It doesn't really serve that much of a purpose. Riven, we don't really have any Riven players except for Soan on KT, and so find it interesting that's not highlighted. Kha'Zix, we've seen him in the LEC a bit, and we saw him end up getting a win, well, a steal is what I'm going to call it. Alistar as well ended up getting buffed, but none of these are really that meta impactful except for Karthus. Kha'Zix, he could end up coming out because people are bored and thinking that the buff is somewhat meaningful, but one of the edges to Kha'Zix is that, well, a lot of people have forgotten how to play against his stealth and his play pattern, and so until people get readjusted to that, it can then definitely be quite good. Volibear buff mostly only affects top lane. The Pyke changes, doesn't really change where we're going to see him land in competitive. Varus change will bring him down a notch, but he was already brought down a notch here in LCK. Trundle nerf, thank God. Ezreal, a little bit easier to hold down, and then obviously the Wukong change doesn't really change a whole bunch either. So, not one of the most impactful patches. However, 10-15 is. So,
Yeah.
we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks I think is when that will come in. But for now, we're going to be playing relatively the same. Maybe Trundle and Volibear might fall a little bit, and you talked about Karthus and Kha'Zix maybe coming in. We do also have some changes here to Predator and Ghost. So, small buffs across the board. I wonder, maybe we'll see some more Predator junglers. I don't know if that's a big enough change, though, to really change the meta, to impact those Predator jungles enough to see them that much noticeably more.
Yeah, I don't think people will look at this and magically think, oh man, well now I have to choose Predator, even though it is a very meaningful buff, and the previous change to Predator was also a buff, but people overreacted thinking it was a nerf because of the loss of damage, when really you should be valuing it for the utility. The extra bit of movement speed on Ghost is very important for spellbook users, but it's not enough to warrant a champion just taking Ghost over other summoner spells.
Yeah.
So, we'll see what ends up happening there. DRX are going to be on the red side to start off this game. The encounter of the two teams with momentum. KT uses Spell, Yamato Magic versus DRX, who's maintaining the top spot. And this is also a rematch of the biggest upset.
Yeah, that was definitely the most surprising upset. I think DRX came in very overconfident and picked these drafts that were like, okay, we're going to stomp you into the ground now. And KT was like, no, actually, we're a good team. We can stop you here. And they were able to do so, as an intense collision is expected between the junglers. Green light on the road to winning streak, Bono, versus ripping people with this Volibear Pyosik, who's on fire lately.
Yeah.
Saw him playing Lee Sin earlier. I wouldn't doubt we see him again.
Well, seems like Keria hoping to show up positively here today against Tushin. What does Keria have up his sleeves against him today? We'll have to find out if we're going to get any exciting picks as we take a look at team stats. DRX actually doesn't have the most impressive team stats despite being first in the league with such a monstrous record. KDA, they are third inside of the league. First blood percent, they are at 7th, 44% of the time. This mostly is because, much like us, Valdez, Pyosik also plays World of Warcraft inside of the jungle. And
Very true.
first dragon percent, not really on the objective.
They don't pick Olaf enough.
No.
That must be it.
Probably plays Alliance, and so, having a little bit of difficulty getting those objectives.
Makes sense.
Team goal difference at 15, however, they are second in the league in win rate. They typically do win. That's why they're in first place. So.
Yeah. So, they might fail at some of the objectives and starting off very early with the first blood, but they immediately come back and they, most of the time, do win the game. So, this team is 9-1 in series. So, definitely really strong right now. And, I'm just really excited to see what the draft is going to look like, to see if any of the patch changes will really affect the way that these players think. As, you can see that the lineup here, we're not going to be seeing Smeb, the support role anymore. Sohan is going to be starting. So maybe if they lose game 1, they might throw Smeb down into the bottom lane. Who knows?
Well, let's take a look if there's going to be any surprises on the side of DRX. I think one would not expect to see it. Doran still going to be up there in the top lane. Pyosik, Chovy, and then at the very end will be Deft and Keria. We'll see if they can actually utilize red side here today. Hopefully not with an R5 Renekton or an R5 Atrox.
R5 Renekton. How about R5 Aurelia? How do you feel about that?
Well, not as bad.
Okay.
Depends.
We might see it today. Who knows? As we're taking a look here at the key players, we're going straight to the mid lane, of course, because it is Chovy. And Kuro, we saw the last time he came out up against Sandbox, we almost didn't want to highlight his stats because they were not very good. He has climbed, funnily enough, in some of the places here, but still retains not the best stats against Chovy, who is obviously here one of the best mid laners in Korea.
And CS difference at 15, 14.6. Goal difference at 15, plus 347. So Kuro, he's obviously having a pretty hard time. And a lot of this is also attributed to just how KT has been getting their wins, how they've been playing. Kill participation, he is at 5th inside of the league. And so we'll see what he can manage to do up against Chovy here, who is currently a little bit preoccupied.
He's crying a little bit.
Yeah.
He saw the draft plans and he's like, I can't wait to play mid-Renekton R5.
Mid-Nunu. I'm so sad. We haven't seen Nunu. And interestingly, 10.15 just came out yesterday. Nunu was not touched, which is pretty good news. That means a lot more opportunity. 4 weeks for Faker to weave it in there.
Yeah, I don't have the biggest
Actually,
faith.
you know what? Nunu normally would only come in as a counter pick, and
yeah,
it's not gonna happen.
Perhaps they don't believe in counter picks. And yeah, speaking of which, we're gonna get into the draft. Always a big highlight moment of the day for me, as we get to see LS's reactions, and we get to see what these teams are thinking coming into the new patch.
Set is still going to be taken off the table. Volibear, no surprise on the change there because it mostly only affects top lane.
Yeah, Ashe, currently a very meta AD carry, very good against Affilios, and just has a lot of value in herself at the same time. Set a big pick for Chovy and a big flex pick for DRX, so they take that away.
And Silas now is going to be removed from the table. See what DRX is going to do with their last ban. Karma will be taken off. Now, Ezreal obviously was hit a little bit. And Affilios is very answerable, but it's okay. You were flying. Twisted Fate picked up immediately. Galio and Lee Sin is the immediate response by DRX. So Galio to match the Twisted Fate. Lee Song. We'll see what other matchups he can end up getting, but both of these are hard engaged, short range champions. Affilios being rewarded. He's having his conditions activated. Long have we waited. As Nautilus is going to be paired with him. And so DRX, they have an opportunity here to try to get something going. They're not going to go for it. Instead, they're going to pick up Camille.
Yeah. They're committing hardcore to the hardcore engage with that one. A very common duo we used to see way back when Galio was super impressive and common is Camille Galio. Obviously, Lee Sin can also position himself into backlines, so I suppose they have synergy, but it might not be so good against what KT have.
Mordekaiser now removed, and Renekton getting banned here as well. Yuumi removed from the table. And so DRX, I would imagine that they would go for their AD carry on R4 and save support for R5. Ezreal. So you can try to outrange Affilios. Obviously, Senna and Varus are both still very good champions. We'll see what Senna elects to have as her support. She has a lot of options. She could just have a normal traditional support or one that she's able to fast. As Aurelion Soul being covered for some unknown reason.
Yeah, Jungle Aurelion, the new hotness on 10-14. Vladimir. Okay, it's been a hot minute. I mean, this is the first pick of summer, and we've just entered round 2. So it's been a while, but Vladimir comes back.
The really weird thing is that Vladimir, when he goes for his engage with Galio's new change to his R, when he casts it, he gives a magic shield to everyone inside of the ultimate. So a little bit weird that KT would pick the Vlad because everyone just gets a shield, so I'm really not sure what's going on there. DRX maybe wanting to actually go with fasting Yasuo.
Wukong available. And we are going to see that lane come together once again down in the bottom lane. Could be a little bit annoying early on with the lack of range for the Wukong, but later on can have some nice engage potential.
And it doesn't look like there's going to be any surprises inside of the champ select for where champions are going, what they're trying to do, and whatnot. So DRX, they have a lot of sustained damage inside of the team fights in the mid game. They also have the Camille split push insurance. The Vladimir is just so out of place to me, along with the Olaf. So things are just very, very, very strange on the side of KT. And even though DRX was drafting into Affilios, I can't help but basically feel like KT's team composition is so off kilter that it doesn't really aim to achieve anything. It's just sort of random. And I feel like the Vladimir insurance policy is negated by the Galio's presence, so everything just feels a little bit off. I think that a lot of the weight is still just going to fall on aiming on that Affilios and seeing how many years he's got.
Yeah, taking a look at the other side. They draft another diver in the Wukong, so now you have 3 people that are going forward alongside of Galio to just ult into the back line. Dipped in the back, just going to be having this giant wall in front of him and shooting over it whilst healing and shielding them all. They have a really nice team comp in terms of Wamu combo, so we'll see if they can force KT into some fights. As here we are on the Rift, the first game of the week begins right now. KT trying to relive their upset over DRX, whereas DRX wants their revenge. It's the only team they've lost to. They're 9-1. And it's this team right here who did deliver him that L.
Well, 40 seconds into the game here, and no one's going to go for anything super risky. It's going to be a spread out everywhere. It's going to be Glacial Augment for Deft on the Senna.
Yeah, just going to be looking to poke down up against Affilios, who doesn't have the longest range without his Calibrum, his original gun. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see the lanes, too. I mean, the Galio alone is kind of an obvious choice up against the Twisted Fate. You can move down yourself and ult into a fight and immediately respond, and if they're diving in, you can knock them up and try to turn the fight. The Camille versus Vlad matchup, this is one that we really haven't seen in quite a long time, as we're also taking a look here at their runes.
And, well, let's see what everyone's runes are going to end up being. So Doran's just going for the pure sustain up there on the Camille. Deft coming into the lane. Chovy getting an immediate ward down onto the Raptor camp. You can see that it actually gets pinged out by Kuro. And not too much really happening. Finally, Ding's level 2. Lee Sin's going to go for a full clear. Realizes, or, well, he should know, there's no way to make a gank happen with any of these laners. So, obviously, Piochek's only pathing should just be to full-on wave clear. Kuro, a little bit interesting, electing to allow the lane to just pure reset rather than holding it in front of his turret.
Yeah, we don't freeze here. As Jonah Strong, our main observer, is he's really getting into it with all of this CS. He's really trying to point out every single one that's missed. And just trying to show it off to the audience. This bottom lane, not very oppressive. As you can see, aiming isn't really able to put any, lasting damage onto that melee Wukong.
And Olaf now finally has completed his full clear. Lee Sin not super far behind him. It should just be a trade of Scuttle Crabs. Lee Sin getting the top one as Olaf gets the right focus, or the right one. As Galio, I mean, he's going to come in, maybe get some intel on where exactly Olaf is, but Aiming and Tushin down here in bot lane, they're shoving in the wave, but they're not going to get a whole lot of meaningful chip damage, and they're just going to keep themselves inside of the lane. And remember, Wukong, he has teleport, Affilios does not, and Olaf's just going to recall. So definitely enormous amounts of lost opportunity by Aiming and Tushin. Smite used by Pyosik for unknown reasons. It's going to be the Scryer plant, not even going to actually get tapped.
Yeah, he's going to put down a ward and spot the Olaf just restarting his path. None of these junglers are really thinking about any kind of plays here in the lanes, so we'll see how Pyosik uses that vision advantage to his advantage. Although Bono did get a ward over by Lee Sin's Gromp, and everything is kind of going stock standard here in the early game. We'll have to wait and see who makes a play towards that first Drake. It's KT with the Olaf. Generally, have to have a little bit of an easier time with that. You can see they're also pushing in the bottom lane and getting priority there, so maybe they can use that to pick up this Cloud Drake.
Well,
ooh.
Yeah.
8-game winning streak for Lee Sin. You guys remember, in very recent times, Lee Sin was on something like an 11-game losing streak. But it seems like we've turned that around a little bit here at the LCK. Obviously, some big Lee Sin names there, as some bopping of heads in the mid lane, but no real action actually taking place there.
And Bono just finding the Lee Sin right now, not clearing his jungle immediately, and so we're just having a little bit of blow for blow happening across the lanes. And no laners really trying to manipulate their lane state to be favorable for their jungler, and so in spots like this, I mean, it's going to be favorable for Olaf, because Twisted Fate able to get priority on a moment's notice, keep the Galio underneath the turret. You can see the Wukong and the Senna also forced underneath the turret. Opens up the freedom for Olaf to get the first and probably the second dragon before DRX can start contesting.
Yeah, Doran has just been relentlessly pushing the top lane, but you can see that Bono just hasn't really responded to that all too much. It's not going to be very easy for an Olaf that doesn't have any hard CC to lock down a Camille with hookshot. Same with a Vladimir, of course, but if they were able to bait a fight, maybe, like bait a trade and then throw out the Vlad ultimate and Olaf's there, then maybe you can get a kill down, but so far haven't really considered that here, as Bono's just been going for full clears, dragon takes, all that good stuff. As taking a look at some of the records, this is actually Toby's first pick of Summer for Galio, and Karia's first pick of the decently popular Wukong alongside of the Senna.
Well, we'll see what he can manage to do with it. Obviously, now Toby actually plays a lot of Galio on his stream, and so he is very proficient at the champion. It's just one of those champions that when viewers see him on it, they probably mauled a little bit, wondering why a tank supportive champion like this would end up being allocated to him. But we'll see how the pick ends up working in later stages of the game. Now, one of the problems for DRX is obviously jungle and lane synergy, in the sense that Pyosik doesn't really accrue very sizable advantages on his own. And when the laners are just playing ping pong literally everywhere, not a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, Zoan is really the first person to put on any kind of aggression here, and it's not going for a killing blow, of course. It's just a play, and now he's going to be very far up the lane here as Doran is going to get really way too far, but the response here from Chovy trying to turn this one around. Bono making his way up to make it a 3-on-3. And nothing really happened, so I thought maybe the Vladimir would be punished, but we just immediately remember how he does have a nice amount of survivability in his kit, able to go into the pool, and flashes out of the Chovy engage. Meanwhile, there's a big rotation up to the Rift Heralds here.
Yeah.
But they're now going to give Keria and Deft so much free XP and gold advantage down in the bottom lane.
This is one of the issues with rotations like these, is you give up an entire minion wave, you potentially give up a couple of turret plates, and then you end up getting it back. And what ends up happening is you feel good that you get the Herald and it crashes into the turret and you get the dopamine kick. But the reality is that when you go in and look at what is happening, more often than not, you're falling behind if the jungler isn't just free to solo it himself.
Yeah, and you can see that because of the 3-on-3 trade that did occur, they didn't actually need that big rotation up there. Or maybe DRX just saw the rotation coming and they're like, well, we'll just give it to them, I guess, and get the value down the bottom side anyway. And yeah, it's just going to keep things very even here. KT starting off, I suppose, slightly better. It's about 100 gold ahead. It's really not too much of a difference. The singular Cloud Drake is not going to make too much of a difference. And yeah, we've been kind of chilling here in a bit of a 10-minute lull state.
We are in an episode of Forbidden Love.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, I don't know if you saw the most recent Pog state.
Yeah.
But Atlas did come to the Death Realm.
I saw,
so,
yeah.
You know, it is what happened. He even brought toilet paper, but that's all actually just a ruse that was actually Quicksilver sashes. So
okay.
Get himself out, you know.
Yeah, he had an option to escape if he so wanted to.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. I guess it was his first time in the Death Realm. Usually he's the Mordekaiser player, actually. He's a big Mordekaiser OG player back when it was original Mordekaiser way back in the day. Even before your time, LS, before you got into League.
That is true.
Yeah.
I was a big Mordekaiser person. I was.
Yeah?
He's second highest mastery point ever.
Behind Timothy?
Yeah, behind Timothy.
Yeah,
Sir
makes
Thomas.
sense. Thomas is, we don't get to see him too often. He's slowly coming back.
Yes. Well, it is A-okay, except if you're Doran, you're taking a lot of damage. And I like how he's doing this. He's doing it as the cannon was about to die. He manages to clip Kuro, as I'm referring to Chovy there. Also has the spellbook. Ignite is there. But none of the laners are really manipulating any of the lane states yet again. So this is the constant complaint. This is why you don't pick Lee Song. It's because you're just going to end up farming up for 15, 20 minutes, and then you just basically become a kick bot. Now, if you end up building him as a tank and acknowledge that you're just a kick bot, well, okay, now we're talking maybe. But in games like this, it definitely feels very bad.
You can see what KT are trying to do. They're trying to zone out DRX here. They're going to use the Rift Herald down in bottom lane and try to get priority here. Give the plates, split it with aiming. Probably going to get another plate here, actually, on top of it. So it's going to be a full 162 aiming, who is getting quite stacked with his CS and the amount of plates that he has. But DRX, they're really making a big case here to try to fight around this Infernal. Try to take it away from the Olaf comp, who usually is going to have a little bit of an advantage. Keria, though, is pretty low. Here's going to be the engage coming in from KT. The TP comes in as Namatewi actually goes down here. The front line gets Vlad ultimated, but that's about it, as now the knockup is going to come down onto Soan, and no one dies.
Yeah, I mean, DRX managed to make them retreat, though, from the Dragon, which in itself is a pretty big victory. This is going to buy them a lot of time, as well as give them a little bit of amp for some of their champions. Obviously, Galio, not the biggest user of an Infernal. He doesn't tend to build, actually, enormous amounts of ability power. So we'll see what else ends up happening. Obviously, what route Deft is going to go on Keria. And we take a look at it. Tushen engages a little bit reckless, ends up getting collapsed on, and Keria just not able to actually kill him. So gets locked up as well, but at the end of it all, it's just a lot of low HP bars. Very close, though.
Yeah.
By KT, they almost blundered away their advantage.
The teleport out of Keria is actually pretty cool. He noticed he was going to be zoned out by the Vladimir that was TPing on the ward, so he TP'd to the other side of the fight. Even though it was a very low distance TP, it actually ended up getting him into a pretty good position to just get a frontal ultimate off. He identified what he would be able to do with the low amount of health, which is just a quick engage into cloning backwards into safety, and he positioned himself to do exactly that. So even though, you know, there wasn't any big flashy kills or anything like that did happen, definitely some good plays were made by the players.
And we'll see if KT can manage to convert anything from their advantages into something meaningful as we transition into mid-game now. Everyone is pretty much just continuously farming up. And it feels like to me KT will have this window of opportunity where their champions are still just a little bit stronger than DRX's before they can get to that super gross sustain spot inside of team fights.
Yeah, just waiting for that. DRX did pick up that Infernal, so it's going to feel pretty good for him. We have a massive rotation coming in from KT. Everybody moving to the bottom side, including Olaf, so they're just going to give Shirley away here, which at the end of the day isn't the biggest deal. Of course, Shirley usually just gets turret damage and maybe doesn't even get... Okay, they're not even actually okay. They're going to TP in here. This is kind of interesting, the position from Kuro. Trying to lock down Pioshik. The kick comes in, and he's trying to use that blasting plant. A really nice play to just maneuver himself over to the blasting plant and get over the wall. Pioshik, really nice decision-making to deny us another kill.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, it's important that DRX does not continue to bleed out pretty much anywhere, because things can definitely get very bad in that mid-game spike. Third Drake is going to be really interesting. Vladimir should have at least 1.5 core items completed by that point. And Rod of Ages is going to be almost fully stacked on Twisted Fate. Trinity Force should be able to be purchased by both Camille and Wukong, so we'll see how everything ends up there. Chobi is going to be effectively on Zanya's Hourglass. He has the Proto Belt as well as the stopwatch already. Minute and a half until that dragon comes up, but whole bunch of ping pong just never ending. We're almost at 17 minutes. No kill.
I think we've already broken the record, right? I thought for Summer it was like 15 minutes, 40 seconds or something like that. That was the previous record. I'm sure that production will get that up on screen once we do eventually have the first blood coming in. I do remember, though, in spring, I think it was like 22 minutes or something. We had one game with no kills. So it's not going to break the all-time record unless we continue to go along this rate of play. So Ben & Jerry's, they're making their way over to Korea.
Yeah, the new ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite flavor?
Ooh, of the ones that they have available here, probably just chocolate chip cookie dough.
Sounds amazing.
But I can't eat any of it.
Well, why not?
Well, it's a lot of calories.
Oh, are you on a diet now?
It's the devil's food.
It is.
That is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to really kick back and relax on a Friday or Saturday night, Valdez, what I can recommend for you is pick yourself up some of that Ben & Jerry's ice cream.
Okay.
Log into League of Legends.
Yeah.
Get yourself the new Spirit Blossom Teemo skin. And then Prestige Edition it out.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like a pretty good plan to me. What about Nexus Blitz? What about some
honestly,
of that?
Not a big fan. I'll tell you what I'm a fan of after this.
Well, I thought you were going to say Lee Sin dying, but it's not going to happen. So you're not going to get your wish today, LS, a.k.a. Lee Sin. he is going to survive. And it was just like a little mini skirmish before this Ocean Drake. And you can see that with Surly available here for DRX. They're trying to pressure them back in the mid lane. Here comes that Ghost back in, but it's only going to hit Gallia, which does absolutely nothing. Charge will go down. But again, just a little bit of turret damage. Still just posturing here before this Ocean Drake. And nobody has died. Okay, maybe here going in now is Keria. He gets extremely low, but starts off the fight, and finally, Poshik is going to go down. We will have our first kill. Jovi not able to do anything. That's a double, and a huge hook comes in from Tucson, and they're trying to lay down onto Depth here and pick up another one. That is 3 in a row now, as KT did go extremely far underneath that turret, but they're actually going to pick up another kill as Doran sticks around and Keria TP's in for no reason. Just trying to follow up there on Doran, and that is a disaster for DRX, but KT keep their calm, start the fight, and now aiming is 3-0-1.
Yeah, and I mean, the Affilios having all the kills is super problematic for DRX because only the Senna really does anything against him, and every other champion, Affilios is, I mean, he's smiling.
Yeah.
He is one of the happiest people probably on the planet. It's like walking into a zero capper. I don't even actually know as the hook goes in. And you can see DRX, I mean, Doran knows, what am I even supposed to do in this spot? It just all feels so terrible. Double kill given over, Chovy ends up having to fall. Hook shot out by Doran, and I mean, he's just making pretty much not a whole lot of good decisions.
Well, he just got straightened up by Affilios. Imagine being a melee champion and playing against Affilios. Wait, they have 4. And a lot of them did die. At least Keria notices that he gets blown up immediately the second he enters fights. So he gets his engage off and then he gets out. So that Wukong not having the most value, I would say. The blue buff left on 1 health, and that is going to go the way of Kuro here. And now, I mean, KT just a very comfortable lead, 4,500 golds. They have a mega fed Affilios. As Doran is angry, we've seen this before. They're going to try to punish So-On here, and I think they should. Okay, the stopwatch. He's got Zhonya's, but it's not going to be enough. 2-on-1. He will be able to take down the Vladimir finally.
Well, it's a pretty big kill for them, but they are still down almost 5,000 gold. And a lot of it is on Affilios, who directly answers pretty much their team composition. So this is very scary for DRX. And it looks like KT, I mean, something is going on where they seemingly have some sort of kryptonite against DRX. I get it. It's the previous coaching staff.
Yeah, oh, there you go. I mean, it's this is a little bit unfortunate just to say that he gets caught here. Not much else to say about this play.
Just gets locked up and inevitably brought down. Not the end of the world for him, though. Camille is still very far away from being a super menace. Finally, Black Cleaver coming in for both Senna and Lee Sin. A little bit surprised to see that Wukong wasn't the one that built it, and then Senna just goes pure lethality, given how quickly he can apply it to everyone.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely strange. Trinity Force, I suppose, is going to offer more individual damage, but so far in the 2 fights, Keria has just been chunked out immediately. I mean, aiming sees him in the front, he lines up a Q and does an insane amount of damage to that pretty squishy Wukong, who does have Merc treads, by the way. Not going to feel too good against the Affilios, as now they're really trying to make a couple of moves here, actually. They're going to get on top of Depth, who is dead. And here comes the other move, trying to lock down Doran. It's going to be a huge amount of sniper damage coming in from aiming, but
yeah,
that's about it.
And Deft is, well, not having the easiest of times so far in this game. 1 minute until the Ocean Dragon's going to come up, and you just look at all the item spikes on the side of DRX, and you're wondering, well, what are they really hoping for? What are they hoping to achieve? At this
이런 거 중간에 보면 어때? 볼게.
That was very loud. Says, look for this, look for this, look for this.
이거 잡았어.
We got her.
That was good. You translated the same thing 3 times in a row, but it makes sense. He was spamming, I got her. And yeah, I mean, Deft on the Senna, his only real role is to try to outrange aiming in the fights and, of course, the lane, and help out the Wukong get a bit fed. But at the same time, I mean, individually, if he's caught out, he's pretty much dead. They have a lot of lockdown on the side of KT. So as you see, he gets out of position, he's going to die. That Senna just needs to be right behind the engage. That comes out from DRX as now we're going on a little bit of a vacation here. Doran not going to get over the wall, but he is Camille, so just going to be chilling over there. But this is going to be another Ocean Drake that right now is uncontested. And it's not like DRX are going to rush down a Baron or anything, so it looks like they're just going to give another Ocean Drake over to KT, who are slowly running away with this game.
Well, I mean, it just looks like you're saying. I mean, they are running away with it. They're so far ahead. They're threatening Ocean Soul now at 30 minutes. And with Galio being stuck on items, Lee Sin not really achieving anything.
Okay. We've got a lot of lights coming from the sky. That's a really nice setup here by Keria. But where's the damage? Where's the range? Aiming, look at him in the back. He has so much room. There's no way for DRX to get on in there. They already used all of their backline dive and their engage. And now this is going to be a total rout here by the side of KT. That is 3 kills. You can see that Keria is just going to go home, and KT are just demolishing DRX here in this first game.
Well, Valdez, I don't know what it is about KT that DRX seems to have some trouble with right now, but this is a massacre in game number 1, and I don't think anyone really would have expected it coming into the match, and it's probably raising a lot of eyebrows for people.
Yeah.
What is going on? Why KT, of all teams? And we just see what's happening. I mean, DRX, they make this proactive play. Camille, Galio go in, but you have no damage.
Yeah.
And then so on over on the right-hand side. I mean, he's being locked up by Depth, but it just doesn't really matter. And a lot of this is they just were slowly falling behind early on, but they were also going even in some of the spots where they should not have been. And so 3 minutes until Ocean Soul, and look at the items across the board. It's not close.
Yeah, I love the Guardian Angel pickup too by aiming, especially if he's able to keep his flash or something like that. Even if he gets hard engaged, focused down, he's coming back into the fight whether you like it or not, and maybe he can reposition. We've all seen 200 years if everybody's stacked up. Not to mention that, yeah, he's the most fed on his team, but they actually do have some really nice stacking damage for their team. They have the Vladimir that's scaling in to the end of this game. You have the TF that's going to be doing some really nice single target damage, and you can have all the hard engage in the world. If aiming is consistently able to just flash out of Galio ultimates, Camille ultimates, Wukong engages, knockups, all this stuff consistently every single time, then he's always just going to be shelling damage onto your entire team, and there's nothing that you're going to be able to do.
Well, DRX, I mean, they can try to hang on for dear life.
Okay, well, Kuro
might go down here. Yeah.
He flashes for some reason. I don't know why you would flash there. Maybe trying to buy a little bit more time, but they were already going to get the inhibitors, so. Either way, Kuro at least did a good job baiting, and the rest of his team was able to get the inhibitor. I suppose that maybe DRX were just saying, I mean, they're going to get the inhibitor anyway. Let's try to get something out of it and go from there. could see that, yeah, aiming is pretty much untouchable at this point. No objectives on the map for now, but they still have a little bit of Baron buff, and really the big focus will be that Ocean Drake real soon.
We take a look at the replay. Gold card tries to go out. Doran using Hextech Ultimatum. Taunt comes in from Chovy. Very easy pickup onto the Twisted Fate, but it's not going to be enough in the end as we come back to a pause.
Yeah, it looks like a Kuro issue. Okay, Kuro's keyboard all of a sudden stopped working. And maybe it's because he got straightened up by the enemy team just now, and he's like, well, I had to shotgun my keyboard after that.
Well, it just means more time for Forbidden Love.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all that there is to it.
This, I wouldn't imagine this is a very serious issue. I imagine it's just something got unplugged. You gotta take it out, put it, plug it back in.
We'll see if it is indeed just an easy fix. KT are in a super commanding spot right now inside of the game, so should be able to just get the Ocean Soul once we resume, and from there it should be a pretty easy, smooth sailing victory. Now, the really scary thing here is we're getting word that it's fixed. That's not the really scary thing. But the really scary thing here is that if DRX loses this, Damwon just gets a whole lot spicier. Because these are games and matches that the top team should never expect to draw.
Yeah, and it does go back to the draft, of course. There is just so much weakness within this composition against Affilios. And the Vladimir pick was interesting, too. I mean, sometimes we have, like, Kennons picked up in this position for defensive Kennon ultimates. I think we actually saw that in the last series that these two teams did play in round 1. And I suppose that Vladimir can be used in a similar way at the same time. It offers some heavy late game magic damage as well, even more than the Cannon, so not a bad idea. If you know that the enemy team is going to be stacking up with hardcore engage and all, 4 engagers are all going to be in the same spot, well then a gigantic Vlad ultimate is going to be very valuable. As Tucson's on a ward, Doran doesn't seem to care. He's Camille. He'll be able to get away. And there's just so much control in this jungle right now for KT. You can see the TP is coming in.
Yep.
Which is kind of interesting. Not really sure why you want to TP there, but maybe just wanted to get close to his team. And they're trying to bait KT into a fight here. Really, all KT have to do is run at the Ocean Drake and get Ocean Soul and win the game.
Yeah, and KT, I mean, it seems like they are aware. All they have to do is just get that. They should just burst it. Get the dragon. There's no possible way for you to lose the team. Okay, the game is...
Yeah.
Everyone is immortal right now.
Yeah. Okay, they're going to kick in Pyoshik. Or rather, Pyoshik is going to kick him in. Tucson is easily going to be able to just stopwatch it. And everybody on the side of DRX is just running away. Doran trying to engage on the back line, but he's immediately going to have to flash away from that one. The wild card's not going to do the job, but the axe will.
Fail flash, yeah.
And aiming is just, I mean, he's a monster right now. At least Pyoshik is going to be able to dodge the Moonlight Vigil. And that's going to be game 1. Very straightforward. There wasn't a lot of action in this one. You can see that KT just going to zone him out. And Doran and the rest of the team, they're going to throw up the thumbs up. And KT will easily be able to stroll around to a victory here up against our #1 team in the LCK.
And it's just such an eerie victory, is ultimately what it is. It's a massive upset to start this series off. And if DRX gets 2-0'd, I don't even know what to possibly think. Coaching staff going to come out immediately. KT, they don't even look like they're that surprised with the victory. I wonder what DRX is actually thinking at this point in time now.
Well, they're already in the coaching booth, so we didn't get to see them walk off. We didn't get to see too many emotions from their side. But, yeah, I mean, you cannot be happy with this It's your third loss to KT in games so far, and you're 9-1. So something must be fixed. I think it all starts with the draft.
Well, I mean, both of the drafts, they had stuff going for them. Obviously, DRX does walk into Affilios, but there's also some counterproductive things like the Vladimir on the side of KT, but that's not really the problem. It's the laners aren't interacting with the jungle. I can't even imagine what's actually being said right now, because the entire game fumbles itself in the first 15 minutes, and a lot of it just has to do with, well, your jungler's pathing like this, he'll be at this location here, here, and here, but everyone's just playing ping pong instead, and no one really cares. So, not sure what the analysis would be of like what is really going wrong inside of the game, but maybe with a different kind of draft, they can just have things unfold more naturally without such a reliance on those types of setups.
Yeah, every single hard engage that they had was very lackluster. It really got no value. They weren't able to lock down the Affilios, which is either you're having mega range or you're trying to go super hard or into diving the Affilios. And I feel like the range works out more often than the other choice, but they weren't able to, you know, make any of their positives of their comp work at all. And it was just a slow and steady goal difference climb up to about 10,000. And yeah, Affilios and Vlad doing a ton of damage. Again, very straightforward. There's not really much else to say about this one, except DRX kind of have to get their act together, and KT are looking good once again.
Yeah. And, I mean, KT, this is a big morale boost, especially that it's happening in game number 1. They can feel a lot easier going into game 2. And DRX, I mean, they are probably prone to tilt, and this is very tilting.
Yeah, I wonder how it's going to feel going into game 2 from both of these teams. As guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, game number 2.
싸우자.
한 바퀴
받았고. 나 갈려보자.
나 못 가 천천히.
나 나쁘지 않아?
아 갈려부터 봐 갈려부터.
나 살았어. 갈려 반피.
갈려부터 잡는다 우리.
갈려부터 봐. 갈려. 카밀.
해도 돼 들어가도 돼. 들어가.
카밀 이겼어.
격발했다.
바텀 텔
가자.
야 바텀 텔.
미드 바텀.
여기.
네 봐줘.
볼 수가 없습니다. 봐줄게.
바텀. 너야 빨리 봐줘.
넘어가자.
왜 아펠리오스?
여기까지.
여기까지. 아 이데스 하는 놈 누구야?
야 죽여. 빨리 깨줘.
아 깨.
죽여. 까비.
나이스.
나이스.